backstage, Jason Tardy.
Thank you so unexpected. High five. Yes, awesome, dude. Over here. Some of you guys look like you're a cat scratching a cat post. That was weird. All right, well, my name is Jason. I perform a high-energy juggling show, and no matter where I do this show, whether it's a cruise ship in the middle of the ocean, the White House, which I really have performed at 3 times, or here for you guys say for your school, to do the show, I really need a high-energy audience to pull this off. Can you guys be a high-energy audience? And today, I do have a special message I'm going to be sharing with you, so I also need a focused audience. So I kind of need a focused, high-energy audience. So to make sure we have that, I'm going to do a little test to make sure you guys are ready. I'm going to do a trick called a 1-up 360. I'm going to juggle 3 juggling clubs, throw one high in the air, spin around 360 degrees, catch it. If I can get this trick, I need you all to cheer and applaud like it is the coolest thing you've ever seen. Right? Even if it's not the coolest thing you've ever seen, and it probably won't be because of YouTube, do it anyway. All right? And then, as soon as I put my hand up like this, that'll be your signal to quiet right down. So if we do this right, it should be like magic. It should be like cheering and applauding, and then, whoa, completely quiet. All right, so let's see if you guys are ready for the show. Here we go, 1-up 360. No, that's not it. If you like this, the show is going to blow your mind.
How do you all go?
All right, and now quiet right down. That was great. For a first try, that was great. I think some of you meant that. You're like, this guy's really good. Some of you overreacted. That was better. And I think some of you clapped out of sheer pity, because right now, you actually kind of feel bad for me. Thank you. Keep it up. All right? Perfect. You guys are great. It's going to be a fun show. I can tell already. So I think to keep things moving, I'm going to do a big stunt. And we're going to do this. I need a brave volunteer to help me with this stunt. Someone really brave. Someone has a lot of energy. Someone that can follow directions. Why did a kid's hand went like this? Follow directions? Maybe not. You kind of scare me. All right, big round of applause. Guys, 30 pounds, 3 10-pound bowling balls. There's a good chance you will never see this again in your life. Unless you see me again. Rosie, you ready?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Are you guys ready? All right. Help me count Rosie down. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slow, Rosie. Good. Yes! Yes! Big down, Rosie. You ready? 1, 2, 3, down. You said this is going to be an anti-bullying show, not an anti-bowling show. What is going on? Right? Well, let me explain. I grew up right here in Maine, just like you guys are growing up here in Maine, right? And when I was a little older than you, I decided I wanted to be a professional juggler, right? And when I was in school, sometimes people didn't think that was very cool. Sometimes people were kind of mean to me. Sometimes I was bullied. So today what I want to do is tell you the things that I did to overcome my bullying, what you can do to overcome your bullying, and also what you can do if you see somebody else being bullied, which I think is really, really important. But just so we're all on the same page, because sometimes people don't know what bullying really is. Sometimes somebody is rude, sometimes somebody is mean, and sometimes they're bullying. And those 3 things are very different things. So just so we're all on the same page, let me tell you the difference between rude and mean. Rude is if someone hurts your feelings, but it's just because they're being careless. They're not thinking. They're running around. Maybe they cut in line. They brag about something that kind of hurts your feelings. They throw a ball that accidentally hits you. Right? They're just not thinking and it hurts your feelings. That's rude. Mean is if they're doing that on purpose. Right? They're trying to hurt your feelings. They call you a terrible name. They're making fun of you. Maybe they throw something at you. Maybe they even hit you. That is mean. But there is a point where mean becomes bullying. Does anybody know what turns mean into bullying? And if you're raising your hand, I'm going to call on you, so make sure you're ready with an answer. All right? All right, this girl, your hand is doing this a lot. Right there. Go ahead. Can you be nice and loud? What is it? I think you know. Okay, I heard a few different answers. So you guys put your hands down. So one person said if they hit you, you know what? If someone hits you, that can still be being mean. Okay? But someone over here had the right answer. The answer I was looking for, and that's if they do it over and over and over again. Being mean happens once, twice, maybe 3 times. Bullying is when somebody focuses on you and they're mean to you over and over and over again. They know you don't like it, they keep doing it, and it happens like almost every single day. That's when it really becomes bullying. So if someone's just being mean to you once in a while, that's not really bullying. That's not really bullying. But if they're really targeting you over and over again, that's really when it becomes bullying, right? And usually the person doing the bullying feels like they have more power. Maybe they're bigger and stronger, maybe they're smarter, maybe they have more friends, but they use that power to go after somebody else, and they're mean to them over and over and over again, and that's when it becomes bullying. So does that make sense to you guys? Yeah? All right, good. So now that we're all on the same page of what bullying is, in a second I'm going to tell you what you can do if you see somebody else being bullied. But right now I'm going to do a little bit more juggling for you guys. You guys want to see some more juggling? Yeah? So remember, all the stuff you see in the show would not be possible if I let those bullies win, right? Because when I was being bullied, I could have said, you know what, I just give up, I'm not going to do it. But I didn't. I stayed positive, I stayed strong, I believed in myself, and now I get to do this for a job. So this show is really a symbol of me overcoming that bullying. And I also want to let you guys know that if you're being bullied, let me ask you guys a question. If you're being bullied, is it your fault you're being bullied? No, right? That is super important. If you're being bullied, it is not your fault. You don't have a problem. The bully has a problem. They're making a bad choice, and they're taking it out on you. So I knew that when I was doing my juggling and stuff, so I said, you know what? I know that it's not my fault. I'm going to stay true to myself. I'm going to keep practicing my juggling, and I'm going to do this. And then by the time I graduated high school, I was doing it for a job. This is the only job I've ever had, right? So it's pretty cool that I got to stand up to those bullies. So again, in a second, I'll tell you what you can do if you're in one of those situations. Right now, I'm going to do some more juggling. You guys want to see some more juggling? Yeah? All right. This next one I like to call Not Easy. Please enjoy. I want to do with the ladder. Hold on. Don't worry. I'm not going to climb it like this. That would be crazy. No, I'm going to do something crazier. I'm going to attempt to balance this ladder on my face. So, please don't do any of the stunts I do in my show. Okay? I know a lot of times people say, kids, don't do it at home. Kids, don't do it anywhere. Also, it's not the kids I worry about, it's all the adults. Look at the juggler teacher. You, yes. I know, kids love this stuff. It doesn't make you any friends. I know that for a fact. Alright, so here we go. 30-pound ladder on my face. So now that we're all on the same page of what bullying is, somebody has more power than somebody else, they target them not once, not twice, but like all the time. How many of you think you've ever seen somebody else being bullied? Raise your hand if you think you've seen somebody else being bullied. Yeah? I know, it's kind of sad. There's a lot of hands going up. Yep. All right, put your hands down. So if you've seen somebody get bullied, you're what they call a bystander. And there's 4 kinds of bystanders. The first one is a reinforcer. Let's say the bully is making a joke that's hurting someone's feelings. By the way, if you make a joke that's hurting someone's feelings, is that really a joke? No, right? If you're making that kind of joke, it's not really a joke, you should stop. And you know what? If you make jokes about somebody else that doesn't like it over and over and over and over and over and over again, you might be a bully, right? So you don't want to do that. But let's say the bully thinks they're making a joke, right? If you laugh at that joke, you're making bullying worse, right? That person's going to like it. They're going to keep doing it. Other people might see it. They might say, oh, that person got a laugh. I'm going to make fun of this person over here. So you're just spreading bullying when you laugh at those jokes or if you cheer on a bully. That's what a reinforcer does. An assistant is a bystander that helps the bully. Maybe the person being bullied is trying to get away. An assistant would be like, nope, you're not going anywhere, right? In that case, you're just like a little bully yourself. Third one is an outsider. I think this is what most people are, and this is what I was most of the time, and that is you see somebody being bullied, you're like, I'm going to stay out of it, right? You don't want to make it worse. Maybe you put your head down, you pretend like it's not happening, and you try to stay out of it. Here's probably one of the biggest things I want you to remember from my show, okay? So make sure you guys are listening. If you do nothing, when you see somebody being bullied, you're making bullying worse. And you might say, Jason, that makes no sense. You just said you're doing nothing. How is doing nothing making bullying worse? Well, look at it this way. The bully is being really mean to someone, right? They're actually bullying them. And then they look over at me. I'm not doing anything. Maybe I put my head down. And they're like, oh, Jason doesn't care. Right? Even if in my head, I could be like, oh, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this. It doesn't matter what I'm thinking. The bully isn't a mind reader. All they see is me doing nothing and say, Jason doesn't care. So anytime you do nothing, what you're really telling the bully is, oh yeah, go ahead, keep doing it. You're giving what they call silent approval. So when you do nothing, you're actually making bullying worse, which means you kind of need to be the 4th kind of bystander, which is an upstander. I call this show Stand Up, Stand Out, because I hope next time you see someone being bullied, you know what to do to help that person. Okay? And being an upstander can be a little nerve-wracking, right? It can be a little scary, but there's lots of different things you can do. And hopefully after today, you'll know something to do if you see someone being bullied. Actually, does anybody have any ideas of something you can do if you see somebody being bullied? Yeah? All right. You could tell a teacher. Yeah, that's a great one. And actually, I know sometimes people are like, I don't want to tell a teacher, then I'm a snitch or a tattletale. If someone's being bullied, right, that is serious. It's not just a one-time thing. They're being targeted. They need help. So by getting a teacher or an adult involved, you're helping that person. You're showing the bully that you're not okay with it. And also the bully gets in trouble. And you know what? That's okay. Sometimes we make bad choices. And getting in trouble for our bad choices is okay. You should not feel bad that they made that poor choice. And also, you know what? You might be helping the bully learn a very valuable lesson, right? Because I know people that were bullies in school. They are still bullies to this day. And guess what? Those people are not very happy people. So maybe by them getting in trouble, by you telling a teacher or an adult, that might actually be very good for them. So do not feel bad for that. All right, let's go. You got a red sweatshirt. Sticking up for the person. Now, what can you do to stick up for them? Do you have any... Tell them to stop. Yeah. And here's the thing. I want to make this super clear. There is a right way to tell a bully to stop and a wrong way. Okay? And the right way would be like, hey, what are you doing right now? That's not okay. That's not cool. You need to stop. Right? Being calm. If you yell or scream, and I'll tell you, it is hard sometimes. You see somebody that's being victimized, right? You might get really upset. You might get really angry. Like, this is not okay. I'm going to go over there and yell at them. You know what? You've made bullying worse. Automatically. So yelling, screaming, punching, getting physical in any way, you might think you're helping. You're actually making bullying worse. So the best thing to do is stay calm and just be like, hey, what you're doing, that's not okay. You need to stop, right? And maybe somebody else will stand up and say the same thing. And then as soon as you start doing that, the bully's not going to feel like they have more power than the person they're bullying because it's you, maybe a couple other people saying, yeah, what you're doing is not okay. And that calmness is actually way more powerful than yelling and screaming. All right, maybe one more. Somebody got something different? It's hard. All right, this guy right here. Yeah.
You could just ask the bully and say, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he would say, "I'm bullying someone." Like, "Oh,
Yeah.
You could just stop the bullying and
You have a whole little story going. I like this.
Pretend you're bullying someone."
Yeah. So what you said right there was really great. And a lot of people don't think of this one. What you just said was you go, "Hey, why are you doing that?" Right? Just by asking the bully a question, that is a great way, because you know what? Sometimes bullies are your friends, right? Thinking back on school, I'm like, oh, I think some of my friends might have been bullies, right? And if I could have just been like, hey, why is it that every time you see that person, you have to say that thing, right? That's a way of telling your friend you're not okay with what they're doing, but you're not coming right out and being like, hey, you need to stop, right? That's a little harder to do. All right, let's put our hands down, because I'm going to tell you a few more. I sent your teachers a study guide, so if the teachers want to follow up with the show, they can use that. One of the things is a poster activity, and this is a poster I made. It's called R.E.A.C.T, 5 Ways to Help in a Bullying Situation. You guys have already said a few of these. R is for report the behavior to an adult, right? E, explain calmly that it's not okay, right? Telling them to stop. A, ask them a question, right? Ask them why are they doing this. C is change the bully's focus. Remember, the bully has like this pattern kind of in their head where they're focusing on that person every time they see them. They almost don't even think about it. They have to say that mean remark, right? So by kind of distracting the bully, that is something you can do. Maybe the bully's your friend, maybe not. You can be like, hey, what's that outside the window? A UFO, check it out. It doesn't matter. Look at my new Fortnite dance. Whatever you can do to kind of steer that person away from their target, distract them, change their focus. That is actually something you can do. And by doing that just a few times, sometimes that'll break the cycle of bullying, right? Just by having those two people not interact a few times. Very, very good. All right, this last one is great because my daughter, super shy, okay? But I think she's done this, and I think every single one of you have done this. And I know some of you are thinking, oh, Jason, you just told me I have to help when someone's being bullied? I don't want to do any of these things, right? Here's something I think every single one of you can do. The T stands for take the target, the person being bullied, to a safe place, right? You don't have to look at the bully. You don't have to talk to them. Just go over to the person being bullied, stand next to them and say, hey, let's go here. We're going to go, right? Bring them to somewhere safe, somewhere where the bully's not going to feel like they have more power than the person they're bullying. Maybe to a group of your friends, maybe near an adult, teacher, something like that. But that is a way of showing the bully you're not okay with what they're doing. You're on the other person's side because you're literally on their side. You're standing next to them. And you're bringing them somewhere safe. And you don't have to look at the bully, talk to them, or interact with them at all, right? They can try to talk to you. You don't have any responsibility to react to them. Just take the person to a safe place. These are all great things you can do. Way better than putting your head down and pretending like it's not happening, right? Because again, when you do that, you're giving the bully that silent approval and telling them it's okay. So I'm going to let that sink in a second. I'm going to tell you what I did when I was being bullied and what you can do if you're being bullied. But right now, this next juggling thing I want to do for you is a little bit weird. Do you guys want to see something weird?
Yeah!
Some of you are very loud. All right, this next thing's weird. That's because what I'm going to attempt to do, I'm going to attempt to squeeze my body through this tennis racket. Yes! Okay. That was the easy part. Now the hard part. I should not have stopped at Burger King for dinner last night. That Impossible Whopper goes straight to my tennis racket. Oh, curse these girlish hips. Ozempic, don't fail me now. Holy wedgie, wow. Now that you know what to do if you see somebody else being bullied, let me tell you what you can do if you are the one being bullied. And actually, I made a poster for this one as well. It's kind of similar. You know, the last one's called R.E.A.C.T. This one is called R.E.S.E.T, 5 ways to reset when you are the one being bullied. And the first two are exactly the same. First one, report the behavior to an adult, right? If you're being bullied, again, is it your fault you're being bullied? No, right? That is really, really important to understand because sometimes people that are being bullied, they're like, oh, this is my fault. It's, I'm weird, I'm different, whatever it is. That is not your fault. If you are being bullied, you are not the one with the problem. the person doing the bullying is the one with the problem. They don't get it, they don't understand, they're making a bad choice. And I'll let you guys know a little tip, all right? You don't have to understand everybody else, okay? People might believe things that are different from you. They might live life a different way. You don't get it. That's fine. You don't have to understand everybody around you. What you do have to do is respect each other, right? So sometimes bullies use that as an excuse. Well, I don't get that. I'm going to make fun of them, right? That makes no sense, okay? But by reporting the behavior to an adult, you're helping yourself. I definitely did that. Sometimes people just went a little too far. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to stand for this anymore. I'm going to go tell a teacher, right? And that was my right to do because they were making a bad choice, not me. The E is explain calmly that it's not okay. A bully wants you to get upset, right? They want you to yell and scream. They want you to maybe cry. And sometimes it's hard not to do those things. They might even want you to throw a punch, right? But all those things are going to make bullying worse. So if you can, as calm as possible, just be like, hey, what you're doing right now, that's not okay. You need to stop, right? And maybe if you say that, somebody else in this room will stand up and say the same thing. They'll be like, yeah, you know what? They're right. That's not okay. And somebody else will do it. Someone else will do it. If you guys keep doing this, bullies are not going to feel comfortable targeting other people because they know every time they do, people are going to stand up for themselves, other people are going to stand up and make them not very comfortable. So, explain calmly that it's not okay. And just so we're all on the same page, sometimes I have kids say, my dad said, punch him in the face. Guess what? Your dad is wrong, okay? That is not actually going to help. Now, here's the thing. Your dad might say that. Somebody might tell you that. They don't know the facts. Okay, the facts are, if you do that, you are going to make bullying worse. 99% of the time, it's way worse for you. If it's not way worse for you, it's going to be worse for someone else. So fighting violence with violence actually isn't that great of a strategy. The best strategy is staying calm, and that calmness is a sign of strength, right? So by staying calm and going like, hey, what you're doing right now, that's not cool. You need to stop. I would do that sometimes. S is stay away from the bully, right? That might not seem fair to you, but if you can break that pattern of bullying just for a little while by staying away from that person, maybe in the lunchroom you're being bullied, try to find a way to not be by yourself in the lunchroom, right? Stay near a group of friends, stay near a teacher. I know it doesn't seem fair to you, but by breaking that pattern, that is something you can do to help yourself. E is exercise control of your emotions. And what I mean by that is, if you're being bullied, if you can just kind of ignore them, sometimes that is actually very effective. When people bullied me, right, I wouldn't get upset. They'd be like, Jason, you're a blah, 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 blah. Call me all these terrible names, make fun of me because I want to be a juggler, which to me I'm going, that makes no sense. But they would do that, and I wouldn't get upset. And they didn't find that very fun. And you know what else I would do? I would use humor. And the way I would use humor is, they would make fun of me, call me all these terrible names, and I'd be like, yep, you're right. And they're like, what? Right? If somebody calls you a terrible name and you start agreeing with them, they do not know how to handle that. That kind of freaks them out. And they're like, this is not fun. Jason doesn't get upset. He's like laughing about it. This isn't fun at all. So they kind of stopped because they were just like, this guy doesn't get upset when I make fun of him, right? So that is also something you can do. And by the way, if an adult says, hey, just ignore him, right? And that doesn't work, go back to that adult or find a different adult. Because sometimes ignoring a bully works, sometimes it doesn't. And if you're telling an adult, oh, I need help, and they're saying, just ignore them, find somebody else that is going to help, okay? This T, the last one right here, is talk about your feelings to somebody, okay? Sometimes when we're being bullied, or for any reason in life, we have emotions that kind of don't feel right. We need to get rid of them. And the best way to get rid of them is to talk about them. Find a trusted friend, maybe your parents, maybe a counselor or a therapist. And that's really, really important, because if you bottle up those emotions, you know what happens? Someday they explode out. If they explode out, you might do some really terrible things that you really regret. I don't want that to happen to any of you guys. So I really encourage you guys, if you're having feelings you're not comfortable with, find a trusted person to talk to, whether it be a professional or just a friend. And by the way, I'm not embarrassed to tell you I've talked to a therapist, because that means, if you talk to a therapist, that means you're emotionally intelligent. You're smart. You know you need help, and you're getting that help. There's too many people nowadays that are just like, oh, that's not cool, I'm not going to do that, right? But if you know you need help, and you're getting it, that is way better than the person bottling up all those emotions and having that inside them. And then again, someday maybe exploding out. So I really encourage you guys, if you need to talk to someone, find somebody. There's also some places out there you can do it for free. You know how there's 911, right? There's also 988, which is the same idea. You can call it, you can text it, there's a website you can go to, and basically it's free to kind of talk to someone about how you're feeling if you're having like really, really bad feelings, right? And it's totally free and totally confidential. okay? So if that is something you really need, where you're like in crisis and you need help, you don't know what to do, 988, all right? Cool. So one thing I want to let you know is that I did a lot of those things. Again, I stood up to the bullies, I kind of ignored them, I made it a joke sometimes, and now, some of those bullies that used to make fun of me, they come to my shows now, right? And they're like, Jason, I remember you when you were in school. I'm like, yeah, I remember you too, right? But I'm not mean to them. I kind of think it's their way of saying sorry. They feel bad. They made a bad choice, right? They didn't know what they were doing. They were being immature. They made fun of me. And now they see what I do and they get it. And they appreciate it. They're laughing. Their kids are having a great time. And they really, really like what I do. So I kind of think it's their way of saying sorry, right? I think that's kind of a cool end to my story anyway, that now sometimes those bullies actually appreciate what I do. And I know I've talked to you guys a lot about things you can do, and it is really, really important to help. Because you know what? Sometimes kids are like, well, the teachers will take care of that. The parents will take care of that. They are a very, very important part of this. But you know who makes the biggest difference in stopping bullying at your school? It's you. Kids helping other kids makes a way bigger difference in the culture of bullying. They've done studies to prove it. So if you want everyone here in your school to feel free to be their own unique selves without feeling like they got to conform or be something that they're not, the only way that's going to happen is if you guys all stick up for each other, you look out for each other, you stand out, and you help each other. All right? And I really hope that you guys do that. And hopefully something today stuck in your head, and you can use that next time you're in one of those situations. All right? Guys, I got time for one more juggling thing. You guys want to see one more? All right, one more. It'll be about, it's 5 minutes, so I think we're good. So one more juggling thing. This last one I like to call difficult. Please enjoy. Have a great rest of your time here at school and have a great day. And remember, stand up, stand out, and help each other. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.